Hello, and welcome to August. This is Behavior Bits, and I'm Tara Yarberry with the Butte County CELTA. So I wanted to talk this month about increasing health-related behaviors. We're going to go over sort of a really generic way of increasing any type of behavior. So this concept can be applied to all sorts of other behavioral increases that you might want to see. But we're also going to really focus on a evidence-based practice that I find really helpful when increasing these types of daily living skills like hand washing or teeth brushing or any sorts of hygiene skills or other types of skills that might have step-by-step ways of doing them. So please, by all means, check these slides out and go to that evidence-based practices link that leads you to Captain's Affirm modules. And the Affirm modules have, they have links, they have modules designed specifically to teach you about all these different evidence-based strategies, in particular for working with folks with autism, but really they work in so many ways. They're very behaviorally based approaches that I'd highly recommend. So I thought it was very timely to talk about stopping the spread of germs and focus on those types as a context or an example for increasing behaviors, but I also wanted to talk about generally increasing behaviors. So you want your foundation, you want to look at some evidence-based strategy, like antecedent-based interventions, things that we talked about in May, where we talked about getting routines established, building habits. So all of these next steps that we're going to talk about are with the foundational baseline that there's been a level of routine or a level of healthy habit making surrounding the importance of hygiene behaviors. And then we're going to talk about task analysis, which is the step-by-step instructions for how you can help teach these behaviors. Then we'll go into our threefold how-to, which is setting up those contingencies, again, that antecedent-based intervention perspective. And then we'll talk about communicating expectations or prompting for those behaviors when it's time to engage in them, and then providing that efficient reward system or really reinforcing, which means increasing the future likelihood of those behaviors. So let's get started. All right, so a task analysis, you might have seen these types of things posted around various places where hand washing is extremely important, and I definitely know that I saw an uptick in the types of visual systems like this for a task analysis that show you how to step-by-step make sure you're washing your hands in a really efficient and healthy way. This is an example that I found from the CDC that was more of a textual example of a task analysis, and it is how to put on PPE gear, particularly in, it looks like, the hospital setting. So this is a really detailed one, but it sort of gave an example of a text version. Because doing a task analysis, you can provide this information in a lot of different ways. And especially when we're thinking about universal design for learning, we want to think about what's a modality or a way that we can provide this information to everyone to make it most accessible to most learners. And so that can be done via text, via pictures. You can do video modeling. That's a really great way of showing how to do something step by step, verbally, or you can do some guided things if you are in a close capacity. Maybe it fits other members of your household that you're trying to support in learning these health hygiene behaviors. You might do some kind of over-the-hand prompting or guidance with some level of physical proximity that maybe you wouldn't do if you were a teacher or someone else providing task analysis support on a new behavior to be learned. So, oops, I think I went too far. This is just a funny video. There are various exact instruction challenge videos that you can find online. This was one of my favorites, mostly because it showed a hygiene example, but I think that there's a hilarious one with someone, his kids trying to teach him how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich using some written instructions. And it just illuminates how much more difficult this actually is. In practice, it sounds so easy. I'm just going to explain step by step for someone how to do something, and then bam, we're done, we're off. And it's actually a little bit more complicated than it might seem. So if you feel like you're hitting a dead wall at any point when you're trying to do a task analysis or teach someone a new skill using step-by-step directions, check out these videos. You are not alone, and it might give you some helpful hints or some tips and tricks for your own task analysis. So those three things that we're going to do anytime we've done the step-by-step directions, we've created that task analysis for whatever it might be, and I showed you a couple of those examples. So next, we're going to make sure that we set up expectations and we front load that conversation regularly is what that means. When we're creating a new hygiene habit, remember it's new, so it might not be part of that embedded routine or that established way of doing something. So you want to bring that pattern of bringing it up to the forefront. So we've already maybe taught it. Maybe I gave a visual. Maybe we spent some time in the bathroom together working on how to wash our hands. And then I want to remind that constantly, okay, we're headed to the store. What's the first thing we're going to do when we get back? we're going to wash our hands. And you remember how to do that, right? Yeah, we have that chart right by the sink that you're going to use to wash your hands in. So just setting it up. So anytime that there might be in the near future an opportunity to use that hygiene behavior, that new habit that you're trying to form, set it up that they're going to be needing to remember that soon. After that, you're going to prompt when it's actually the time. When time comes, hey, we just went to the store, we got back. We're going to remind folks of those tools and expectations and also of what they get afterwards. So one hygiene behavior I've been spending way too much of my life focusing on the past month or two is my son is 3 years old and he's going potty training. So I remind him every time when he starts to say, or even before he starts to say he doesn't want to go try to go on the potty, I remind him, hey, remember, you can get either a chocolate or a gummy bunny if you do this. And it really just helps lighten it. I know that he doesn't want to. I know it's new. I know he doesn't want to sit down his toys. Or maybe we just got back from the store and it's hand washing behaviors we're looking at. And I know that we want to pull out that snack that we got, but prompting and reminding people, hey, but we got to do this first. And remember, then we get to earn this thing is really, really helpful for people to go, okay, that's now motivating. Now I'm willing to do it. Okay. All right. I'll go do that so I can get my snack. And there's that reinforce or that reward aspect. So after getting an attempt done, if it's a super new behavior, or if you're completing that hygiene behavior in its full chain, recognizing and rewarding the heck out of that is really going to be helping make that change occur and make it be something that's motivating in the future for that learner to keep engaging in. So these are all things to just keep in mind as we're trying to whether it's, donning a mask, whether it's following other health things that are new and unfamiliar for us in the pandemic that we're in, or whether it's those basics like brushing our teeth, washing our hands, maybe toileting or showering or those types of things. Or even I use it a lot when I'm working on folks that are learning vocational or housekeeping kinds of skills. So, hey, you're moving into an independent situation. You're going to need to learn how to do your own vacuuming and do your own mopping maybe and your own sweeping and those kinds of things. It's a really, really helpful tool to help teach basic chores or basic types of vocational skills, like maybe how you're going to check in when you first get into your job and the kinds of things that you're going to do if you're going to do a job that has a level of that repetition to it. Maybe you're someone that's going to answer phones or need to check email, or maybe you're someone that's going to need to be doing grocery bagging or those types of things. Those tend to have a logical flow and process to them. So it's a good thing to think about, how can we reward and reinforce this in the get-go, and how can we make sure we're teaching it, we're prompting for it, and then again, we're accessing that reinforcement. So thank you so much for being here. This is a part of a bigger newsletter. So if you ever need that newsletter, please by all means reach out to me. But I also wanted to add a few other things. There's so much going on in the world right now that I wanted to just give a couple more resources. Things like how telehealth rules are changing for the National Association for School Psychologists. The recommendations that they're providing have kind of changed a little bit. There's a lot of talks about equity, and in particular, how ABA, that's the field that I am. I have a level of responsibility that I want to make sure that I'm sharing resources for other folks in the field of ABA. So I thought this last little slide to say thank you. And if there's any other rabbit holes that you want to go down to learn more about equity work, telehealth, and how school services are being provided, or social change and different things that the ABA community as a whole are doing, then please by all means check those out too. All right. Look forward to seeing you again in September. Feels so weird that it's already fall, but I hope that you have a fantastic beginning of your school year, whatever that looks like for you, and I wish you all the best.